Hello once again, my name is Konvazekos, I'm the president of ASEAN, and today I would like to introduce you to another book that is called The Liberal Arts Tradition, A Philosophy of Christian Classical Education. Now the authors of this book are Kevin Clark DLS and Ravi Scott Jain. So I just want to read from the blurb of this book and then a little bit from the introduction just to give you a bit of an insight as to what this book is about. And before I do, I just want to say that this is a very, very powerful book. If you want to know what exactly we mean by classical Christian education, then this is the book that you need to purchase. And I'll mention it later. So, the blurb. This book introduces readers to a paradigm for understanding classical education that transcends the familiar three-stage pattern of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Instead, this book describes the liberal arts as a central part of a larger and more robust paradigm of classical education that should consist of piety, gymnastic, music, liberal arts, philosophy, and theology. The book also recovers the means by which classical educators develop more than just intellectual virtue by means of the seven liberal arts, by holistically cultivating the mind, body, will, and affections. A must-read for educators wanting to take a second big step toward recovering the tradition of classical education. So that's from the blurb. I just want to read a little bit now from the beginning of in the first couple of pages of what you will get from this book. So here we go. Continuing in this trajectory of recovering the tradition and applying it to contemporary contexts, we, that is the authors, seek to enlarge upon our predecessors' visions for a classical liberal arts education. Hitherto, thinkers in the renewal have understood the trivium itself, Sayers and Wilson, or the trivium and quadrivium together with moral formation, Littlejohn and Evans, as constituting the Christian classical curriculum. What we present here is a vision of the liberal arts as a central part of a larger and more robust paradigm of Christian classical education. Our thesis is simple, though perhaps controversial. The seven liberal arts were never meant to stand on their own as entire curriculum, for they are designed particularly for cultivating intellectual virtue. Since human beings are more than just intellects, however, the curriculum must develop more than just intellectual virtue. Creatures formed in God's image must be cultivated in body and soul, mind, will, and affections. As we will seek to show, the Christian classical educational tradition embodies just the kind of holistic and fully integrated curriculum that a thoroughly Christian understanding of human nature demands. It does so, however, only when the seven liberal arts are taken as part of a larger model consisting of what we here term piety, gymnastic, music, liberal arts, philosophy, and theology. This full-orbed education aims at cultivating fully integrated human beings whose bodies, hearts, and minds are formed respectively by gymnastic, music, and the liberal arts, whose relationships with God, neighbour, and community are marked by piety, whose knowledge of the world, man, and God fit harmoniously within a distinctly Christian philosophy, and whose lives are informed and governed by a theology forged from the revelation of God in Christ Jesus as it has been handed down in historic Christianity. We propose this model for a truly integrated Christian classical education where the intellectual tools of the seven liberal arts are formed within the context of a Christian life and moral imagination that is governed by a thoroughly Christian philosophy and theology, as at once a faithful summary of the Christian classical educational tradition and a compelling model for schools in the Christian classical renewal. Now, some of the chapters that you will read in this book are, for example, grounded in piety, governed by theology. Philosophy is the love of wisdom in natural, moral, and divine reality. Gymnastic and music, the 7 liberal arts. Grammar, dialectic, rhetoric. The quadrivium, philosophy, theology, and culture, calling, and curriculum. Now, I just want to preempt you that this is not an easy book to grasp. It may take you 2, maybe even 3 readings to really get to the essence of it. However, don't let that scare you. This is a fantastic and just a very, very compelling book that I highly recommend for any teacher or parent who wants to know exactly what we mean by Christian classical education. Now, this book is available on Logos Australis. I have mentioned this in other videos. We have a supplier in Australia. All you need to do is Google Logos, Logos, Australis, Australis, Logos Australis. Go to the bookstore section of the website, scroll down, and you will find this book that you can purchase at a very reasonable rate. So once again, thank you for listening, and once again, I highly recommend that you purchase a book called The Liberal Arts Tradition, A Philosophy of Christian Classical Education. You won't regret it. Thank you, and God bless.